I am Adam Lundy, co-host of They Live by Film, a podcast dedicated to bringing you film discussion and interviews from around the world. Every week, my co-hosts Chris Haskell, Zach Bryant and I discuss a wide range of films, from monumental classics like Vertigo and The Rules of the Game, to the craziest, schlockiest movies ever made like Deathbed and everything in between. We are also lucky enough to have sat down with some of the biggest players in the boutique Blu-ray and film restoration game. If this is your thing, then come hang out with us every Thursday at 7 PM Eastern, wherever you normally stream your podcasts, and now as part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
All right. Hello there, and welcome back to the Disc Connected. I am here with another YouTuber who goes by Katie of the Night. Katie, thanks for doing this with me.
It's my pleasure to be here.
It seems like this doesn't happen for you very often. Have you done much with any other creators on here?
A few. It's been a while, though. Sweet and Spooky on YouTube. She's the one I regularly collaborate with, but I haven't done much else in quite a while.
There is a lot of people that follow my page that I think would love your stuff. A lot of people that watch my stuff just adore horror, and that is primarily seems to be what you focus on. So we're going to get into what you like in film, what you are into with physical media, because that's something that we both are into, and just learn more about you. So how did this love of movies start for you?
It's kind of funny. I think it started because when I was growing up, we weren't really a movie watching family. We watched Disney movies or whatever.
Right.
But I wasn't allowed to watch PG-13 or higher. So I missed a lot of the classics. Never saw Halloween, never saw Friday the 13th, never saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I didn't even really start pursuing movies and catching up on all those classics until like 2020, which I think 2020 was a turning point for a lot of folks. Oh, yeah. But that's when I really started to get into movies.
What is some of the touch points that you watched first in that pandemic time?
Well, it's funny. I really started deep diving into gialli at that point. And I don't even know how I got there, because I saw an actor who was pretty and I wanted to watch a movie she was in. So I watched Death Laid an Egg.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I think that was like my first giallo. But I was like, what did I just do? Why did I do that?
And then that's not a normal giallo either.
No, it's probably not a good first giallo for anybody. But in terms of like broader horror, I think I watched Halloween first, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. This is all me as an adult finally watching these things, but I guess I'm overcompensating now for not having watched anything growing up.
Yeah.
And, I don't really watch things in college because everyone's too busy to sit and watch movies in college. So yeah, particularly in the last 4 years, I've really been going crazy.
Funny enough, I grew up in a small town, and the movies that I saw were really only the big names, like you just named, and then all of the behind-the-scenes stuff, the lower-name titles that everybody seems to really champion. I didn't watch those until I was a little older than, early 20s. Well, probably like 19 through like 25 was my biggest years of discovery. But I gotta ask, like, how'd you respond to some of those classics as an adult? Do you feel like they hit like they were supposed to?
No, I don't think they did. Because they're not scary.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if I had seen them as a kid, I probably would have been terrified. But when I watch a lot of these movies, I do try to think, like, how would I feel as a kid? I'll see the things like, even like full moon movies, I'll be like, oh, if I watched this as a child, I would have been so traumatized. Yep. But now they're just fun, which isn't a bad thing.
Not at all. Yeah, Full Moon, I give them some grief sometimes because of that. But in all reality, they're nostalgic for a lot of people. I get it.
Yeah, and see, it's not even nostalgic for me because I didn't watch my first like full moon movie till 2019 or something.
Amazing. So why don't you share with everybody what you talk about on your channel?
Sure. So it started out with me just talking about whatever I felt like talking about. I also listen to metal, so I talked about metal a lot. But when I started exploring film, I started making videos about it. And then those are the videos that seem to get the most excitement from people and like really draw people in. And I kept saying like, okay, this is probably gonna be my last video about giallo movies. And that didn't happen. So I just really started to lean into that. And I feel like that's kind of where I've settled. So the last couple of years has just been pretty much strictly movies. I talk about a little bit of metal every now and then, but exploitation in general, I'm really interested in. All the little tiny subgenres of exploitation. And then I have a special interest, of course, in giallo and just horror. I try to keep up with some modern horror, but it's kind of just cherry picked.
Right. So what is it about giallo specifically that draws you in? What about those is what you really love?
Well, Argento was the first director that I was exposed to, but that was Suspiria. And I just like the dramatics of it all.
Yeah.
And I love the style and the bright red blood. And just that they're not worried about whether something looks stupid. You know, I feel like a lot of people are like, that looks so fake. Blood doesn't really look like that. People don't really die in 3 seconds. And, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I like the exaggeration of it all. And of course, how beautiful the actors are.
Right.
And the fashion. And I like that giallo has this glamorous side to it. I love the glamour, the wealth, the mansions.
That's one of the things that I always appreciate about it. It almost has like a soap opera feel to a lot of them.
Yes, I do call some of them soap opera gialli. I'll be like, oh, this is one of those. It's not a murder one. Well, they're all murder ones. I'm like, this isn't like a slasher one. This is like a soap opera one.
Right. Love it. So Argento got you into it. What about the rest of horror? What are some of the other major subgenres that you love?
Oh, okay. I really like found footage.
Nice.
I want to say I'm more interested in found footage. I haven't seen a lot, but when I am looking to get scared, usually found footage is what will scare me.
Interesting. Is it the realism aspect? Because your point of view?
Yeah. That's super fun for me. Oh, and I just love demons and possession and supernatural, religious. I think people get pretty tired of that sort of subgenre, but I love it. I live in the Bible Belt, so maybe that's why.
That's true. That also seems to be one of the subgenres that kind of has like cycles. When the movies are really good, they're really good for like 4 years. And then the following 4 years, they're like, well, we're in a little downturn. These aren't that great.
What are we in right now?
Well, I mean, Exorcism Believer came out last year, so.
But we also got When Evil Lurks, which was cool.
That is true. I love that movie.
Yeah, that was really fun. But yeah, man, The Exorcist Believer really let me down.
What about outside of horror? Any other genres that you appreciate almost as much as that?
Oh, gosh. No.
And that's probably why most of your channel is focused on horror, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I know when it comes to exploitation, obviously you get out of the realm of horror a little bit. I'm trying to think of some examples. My mind is blanking. Like, I don't know, something like Switchblade Sisters isn't horror, but I love stuff like that too. So I would say I love things like coming of age movies, even though I haven't seen too many of them. Mm-hmm. And I'm always really interested in anything that's like low budget, homemade, super independent, super obscure. I think all that stuff's so interesting.
Nice. That's a good pick. Yeah. A lot of the indies, I mean, they feel, I don't know, more earnest. And so for me, like if you can tell they're actually trying hard and it's not just they were given a blank check and they can do whatever they want with it, I feel like I get a little more out of it.
Oh yeah, and I also love Lifetime movies.
Nice. I got a couple friends really into those.
So good. It's so bad.
On your channel, what are some of the videos that you're most proud of that you've done that you wish if people were going to come check you out, they should seek out?
So one video is like buried. It's probably like 2018 or something. But kind of going off of your question of what other kinds of movies do I like, my favorite movie is very random, and it's Gummo. Have you seen Gummo?
A few times, and it's a great week to love Gummo. With the recent announcement by Criterion.
Oh my gosh, what is it? I don't know the announcement. What is it?
Gummo is coming to 4K from Criterion. I'm so glad we just got this moment organically in this video. Gummo is being recognized by the Criterion Collection in a 4K and Blu-ray release.
Am I going to cry on your video?
There's a brand new interview with Harmony on there. There's an appreciation of the film on there. The poster art looks great. Here, I'll even do this. Just so, don't click anything. I'm going to share it with you so you can see it right now. This made some of just the biggest waves in physical media over the last week, and you're going to see why. Because they gave this some of the most beautiful art. And with the way I know you like colors, check this out.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Look at it. See, this is why I need to follow people like you, because you are bringing this news that I'm just disconnected from.
Hey, that's a good word there. Look at that. This is coming out on October 22nd on 4K and Blu-ray from the Criterion Collection.
And that's my husband's birthday.
Whoa, nice.
Oh my gosh.
Does he love Gummo too?
Well,
love is a hard word to apply to Gummo. I get that.
So going
does
back
he love
to
spaghetti at least?
He does, and he drinks chocolate milk while he eats spaghetti.
Perfect.
So, so back to the video that I'm very proud of. Gummo was filmed in Nashville, as you may know. And I live about 4 hours from Nashville, so we went on a Gummo pilgrimage to all the filming locations that we could find. And I did tons of research, took to Reddit, gathered information from many sources, and created this map of filming locations like Captain D's. Well, it wasn't Captain D's at the time, and now it's a Captain D's. The bridge, the street where Solomon and Tumla are riding bikes. We went to all of it.
That's amazing.
And I'm really proud of that video. I think it's super cool. And that's one that stands out in my mind.
That's great.
But of course, that's like kind of niche, not necessarily for the horror fans.
Well, yeah, but it's one of those films, especially if you're, I don't know, if you were indebted in skate culture in the 90s, if you're somebody that was into Larry Clark and Harmony Korine around then, if you were, born from 1985 to 1997, you probably got shown that by somebody's older brother.
I love that.
Yeah, that's one of those movies that's just it sticks with you in many ways. And I also love that the reason that Selena Gomez is in Spring Breakers is because her mom saw Gummo and loved it and said, "Oh, Harmony Korine wants you in his movie? Yeah, you should go do Spring Breakers."
You're doing it. Wow, I didn't know that. That's so interesting.
Yeah, Harmony is a character. I appreciate so much of his work. Have you seen all his recent stuff too, like Aggro Drift? Have you caught that yet?
No, have you?
I've not caught up with Aggro Drift yet, but most of his other stuff I've seen. Aggro Drift is filmed. Have you seen the advertisements at all or anything? It's filmed with like infrared cameras and done in like a music video style. And he premiered
I've seen like a little bit.
He premiered it in a strip club in LA. And a friend of mine went to the premiere and watched it in the strip club with Harmony Korine.
That's so cool. I love that.
Any other cult classics like Gummo that you're super into? Maybe ones that you don't talk about on the channel all that much because you've been focusing so much on the horror side.
I love that. I feel like whatever movie I mentioned to you, you will have probably seen it.
I mean, that's not entirely true. I'm still catching up. I've not seen everything. I've got big holes that I've missed.
It's kind of tough. But another one of my like old longtime favorites is 13 from I think 2003 with Evan Rachel Wood and Nikki Reed in it. It's like about teenage girls. Oh, it's nice. It's just like a troubled teen movie.
Okay. 2003. Oh, I remember that poster. Okay.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in the movie store or the rental store. I wasn't allowed to watch it at that time, but once I finally did, that was another favorite. But I don't know. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
We were when we were talking beforehand. Did you say you're currently in college?
Oh no, I've been done for like 14 years. I work at a college though. Yeah, I work at a college.
What do you do for the college?
I'm assistant director of student life, which means specifically I oversee. I oversee fraternities and sororities.
Oh, that sounds like it could be a handful.
It is, but they don't really get into too much trouble. We're a small school.
So what did you study in school?
I have my bachelor's in English, and I have a master's in business administration.
Wow. Congrats. That's pretty big.
Thank you. It's cool.
To go back to your channel, there have been so many times where I've watched some of your videos and seen comments on them, people that have just never heard of any of these movies. And one thing that I've appreciated doing something like this is being able to share something that I love and have somebody follow up on that and respond in a way that makes me think, hey, I actually got to share something special with them. It seems like you get that a lot. Is that something that you feel like is common on your channel?
Yeah, I guess you're right. And I never really intend, well, most of the time I don't intend to go out and recommend movies. And I feel like part of that's because I haven't seen enough. Like I can't say top 5 summer camp movies because I've only seen like 6 summer camp movies. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like
you can still make one.
I guess. But I feel like I'm not trying to present like these are the best.
Right.
But sometimes I'll do stuff like that. But a lot of times I'm just talking about like, here's what I watched this month and I loved this and I loved this. Or I'll rave about a specific movie such as Baby Oopsie, and you might be able to see her here in the background. And a lot of people do end up going to watch Baby Oopsie, and I think that's super cool.
We are going to discuss favorite Italian directors. And obviously you love giallo, but what is it about the Italian side of things? Is there a certain vibe that you get from these that draws you in more than other countries? Or is it just something that, hey, I just happen to notice the ones I love the most happen to be from Italy?
Yeah, well, most of the time I'm purposefully choosing to watch things from Italy. I think it's been a great way for me to learn about film is starting with a niche. So just starting with the Italian giallo as my niche helped me to learn how to talk about directors and how to talk about composers and how to recognize specific actors and things like that. So really, I've just been staying in this niche, especially because there's only, okay, it's debated, a few hundred films in the Italian giallo genre. So I'm like, let me just watch as many as I can find. And I've watched other films out of Europe, and I do really like that region, especially in the 70s and 80s. But a lot of it is just like, that's where I've started, and I'm just still there.
This might be an odd thing, but just to recommend another full genre, have you ever happened to take a look at any of the Germany Krimi films?
No, I think I've watched a couple. Nightmare um, the Monster of London City. I think that's a German movie. Was sort of like a proto giallo, but I haven't like dove into the creamies. Right. I always like to call them creamies.
It's funny.
I haven't deep dived into that yet.
I totally forgot. I was going to ask a follow-up question about your channel, and then I just went to the Italians because I'm excited to talk about some of these directors. But I wanted to ask, when you have some people respond well to some of these titles that you're sharing that you love, is there a couple moments that you've had that you've like felt rather happy that you got to share something with somebody, or anything that sticks out that you possibly influence somebody's love for a new movie?
I don't know. I can't think of any specific examples, but I do love when I see someone comments on my video and they're like, I'm going to watch this tonight.
Yep.
I'm like, wow, okay.
It seems to happen a lot over there.
Yeah, that's fun.
It's exciting. And it's, technically it's kind of a way of film programming. There's so many, different areas that people used to be paid to be film programmers for an entire city. They work at the biggest theater. That's kind of being less and less possible nowadays. And so in a very small community, you get to do that now for everybody watching your videos.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Okay, so back to the Italian directors. We're going to be talking about some of our favorites. I would like to, since you're the guest, we'll have you start. We'll just name the director, some of their favorites, and probably have a discussion. I'm willing to bet there's probably going to be some crossover here because I like a lot of the same movies that you like from over there. So let's start out with your number 5.
Okay, I went with Umberto Lenzi. That's
nice,
my number
good
5.
choice.
I didn't think he'd be on the list. I just don't know why I don't always think about him. But I went to my Letterboxd stats for some inspiration, and saw he did Orgasmo, Nightmare Beach, which I watched that recently. I love Nightmare Beach. Eyeball, of course. Spasmo is highly beloved. And then, of course, all the Lindsay Baker, Gialli in general, which I really like.
This is a good pick. He was literally number 6 on my list, so he's not going to make the top 5. Lenzi is great, though. I'm also a big fan. I know a lot of people recently are really into his horror stuff, but he made a lot of really great crime films, too.
Yeah. Didn't he do Robe Armed to the Teeth, a.k.a. The Tough Ones?
Yes, he did.
I just watched that the other day, and it was awesome.
That's a good one. My number 5, I figured I should probably have at least a small shout out to a classic on here. So I had to go with Mario Bava. This is a big one for me. Of course, some of these like Bay of Blood was a big one for me. Black Sunday was a huge one. The way that he was able to capture just this overwhelming gothic feel is something I've always appreciated. So had to get him on there. And then also shout out to his son, Lamberto, who's not that bad himself. He's not going to make the list because he doesn't have as many favorites as the others on my list. But he did some great stuff, including Demons, hence wearing this shirt. Absolutely love a few of his movies. But yeah, Mario is influential to so many different things. Without him, we don't have Friday the 13th. I
love the lush colors that are in his films and all the beautiful lighting.
Yeah.
He knows how to make atmosphere.
It's true. Absolutely does. All right. What's your number 4 Italian director?
Funnily enough, it's Lamberto Bava. And I know that's so controversial because I feel like everyone's always like, ugh, he's not that great. He's not his father. And maybe it has to do with the time period also. I feel like I like 80s movies more than 60s movies, perhaps. But he directed one of my favorite films, Delirium Photo of Joya. I think about that movie all the time. Oh, Macabre, A Blade in the Dark.
Yep.
Of course, Demons. Even Dinner with a Vampire, I think is super fun.
I think
really
Lamberto
like what
has a
he
lot
does.
of really high highs.
And maybe I haven't seen the lows, maybe I haven't seen the lows yet.
Well, and that's the thing. You're on a journey to discover as much as you possibly can. You're probably not going to seek out what everybody says are the worst from a director first.
Yeah, that's true.
My number 4 is a very 80s director, actually, as well. One that worked with a lot of my other favorite directors from Italy. He, I think he did assistant director on quite a few of my favorites, did some cinematography work. Michele Soavi, we were just talking about right before this.
Yeah.
Cemetery Man. And Michele Soavi has directed some absolute classics. I mean, The Church, The Sect, Cemetery Man, and then assisted with so many, like his hand has been on literally some of the best films of all time. And what's great is you can see it, his theming, his lighting, his ability to capture just, I don't know, absurdity in some of these movies. Like Cemetery Man is flat out absurd, and he does it in a way that you walk away going, that was fun. I don't know what I just watched, but it was super fun.
Right. I don't know why I didn't even think about him. Maybe because he's like more horror, and less giallo.
That's true. Giallo was, I won't say dead, but definitely on the way out when he got popular.
But he was in A Blade in the Dark, which is great.
This is true. All right. What is your number 3?
My number 3 is Dario Argento. And I just thought to myself the other day, I was like, how come people don't call him D'Argento for short? Or do they?
I think I will now.
Well, of course, D'Argento needs no introduction, really, but the style and the way he really plays up tension is just... And the color, of course, I'm a sucker for color, is all stuff that I love to see out of him. So, of course, Suspiria, Phenomena, Opera, Bird of the Crystal Plumage. What else? Oh, and I love Four Flies on Grey Velvet, too.
Wow, nice.
Those are just some favorites.
He did a lot that most people just flat out ignore because they only watch like the 5 or 6 famous ones. But yeah, Four Flies is one that was hard to see for a while. Now it's got this fancy 4K release from Severin. It's streaming places. People have been able to see it. I'm glad people are discovering it lately.
It took me a long time to get to it because so much has changed even with streaming in the last 4 years since I've been into this. But it took me a long time to find it streaming.
A lot has changed in the last 4 years. I feel like people are finally realizing that it's not everything that it was promised to be to us, and so some people are finally departing it. But we're going to talk about physical media after these top 5, so we'll be discussing that in just a moment. My number, what am I on, 3? My number 3 is another classic, but from a different genre focus. I'm going to talk about Sergio Corbucci. Sergio Corbucci has done some of my favorite Westerns, and I'm not a huge Western person. It takes like a really special one to... What's the giggling about? Do you not love Westerns either?
I've seen like one. I'm laughing because people are very sensitive about Westerns.
I'll take the hit for you. I grew up in a house where my great-grandfather played Westerns constantly, and it made me hate them. I thought they were the most boring pieces of junk ever. I can't stand John Wayne. I would be fine if I never see a John Wayne movie for the rest of my life now. But there are a couple that I've watched because they've been so recommended, and I've fallen in love with. And Corbucci has done probably my 2 favorite Westerns at this point. And so I got to bring up The Great Silence. It is the most influential for like Tarantino's Hateful Eight. It's a very snow Western. And then the other big one, of course, is from 1966, Django, which is probably one of the best and one of the first like very influential spaghetti Westerns that came out from that time. And I can't believe that a movie like that is still influencing things in a way, and it doesn't have the same reputation that, you know, these other Clint Eastwood Westerns have for some reason, even though it should. It is, in my opinion, better than most of those. I feel like it's a more compelling movie. I mean, the movie starts with this very handsome guy walking through the desert, dragging a coffin. That alone like, that's a compelling character. I want to know what the hell he's doing. That's crazy. And then when you find out what's in that coffin about a third of the way through the movie, you're just in for the ride. And then, of course, it's a bloody movie. Like, it's super interesting. And for people that love genre films, it's one that I feel like everybody would love.
Man, you stated a good case. I haven't seen that myself.
I recommend it. What is your number 2 then?
I went with Lucio Fulci. I've got kind of some basic answers here, I know, but it's just where I'm at.
I will spoil something and say it's not too basic.
Thank you.
I've still got 2 picks coming, so.
Okay. So I think Fulci really helped me learn to embrace the absurd and learn to enjoy a movie without expecting it to make sense. And just, I don't know, just the way that he does gore and all of that, it's just so fun. And it also teaches you that you don't have to always be policing whether something looks real or not, and just enjoy the show. So he really kind of helped me be a little more, what's the word I can use here? Just like, don't hold on so tight to how I think a movie is supposed to be. He helped me just kind of like let go and enjoy.
Nice.
So I have a few movies here that I love from him. Enigma is my favorite.
Wow, that's a deep cut for that. Nice.
And it was one of the earlier ones that I watched too. And I think I watched it because it has Laura Lamberti, who's also in A Blade in the Dark. And I just kind of like followed her over there. I also love Demonia, the Gates of Hell trilogy, Lizard in a Woman's Skin. I've seen several from him, and I think it's really fun.
That's a good pick. And I like the explanation there. Man, now I'm trying to figure out ahead of time who your number 1 is, but I'm eager to hear in just a moment.
Maybe it should have been Fulci.
All right. My number 2 was your number 3, Dario Argento. So if we're talking basic answers, my top 2 is going to be pretty basic. Argento's like, for me, basically the godfather of a lot of this. He is he is giallo. He is everything that made this genre. He is who people try to emulate still to this day in a lot of modern horror. People make a movie and put a green light behind a window and say, "Yep, I'm just trying to pull an Argento," and it's like, well, you got to do a little more than that. He had plans for some of that, and I mean, his movies are astonishing. He did have some stinkers. I'm not going to argue with that. However, you can't argue with Suspiria. You can't argue with Tenebrae. You can't argue with God, so much that he's done. You mentioned many of them. My favorite is still Opera. I think that it is one of the most beautiful movies of all time. I cannot believe that it's getting this huge 4K release from Severin this year. Cannot wait to get that in. Argento he's up there for me. He did a lot, and I still say one of my favorite theater experiences ever is I got to go to one of the shows where Suspiria was played, and we got to see the score played live with Goblin. And
I saw that too. They came to Alabama.
Isn't it great?
Yeah. I didn't even fully understand how important that was at the time, though.
It's so rare to see him in small towns like something in Alabama. It's rare that they would play Kansas City.
That's awesome.
It's great. All right, let's hear it. What is your number 1?
I went with Sergio Martino.
Oh, wow. Okay, not who I was going to guess, but nice.
Oh, who are you going to guess?
I mean, there's a couple. There's a little more probably exploitative. Somebody like Joe D'Amato or somebody like that.
Oh, I haven't seen too much of his work yet.
Martino. I mean, I should have guessed Martino with how much you love giallo.
Yeah, these are all mostly giallo inspired, huh? But of course, Strange Advice of Mrs. Ward is one of my favorites. So is All the Colors of the Dark.
Beautiful movie.
Torso. Case of the Scorpion's Tail. And I've also sought out some of his other genres. So I watched a comedy called The Wife on Vacation, Lover in Town.
I've not seen that one. Is it good?
I don't know, because I watched it in Italian.
Did it make you feel good while watching it, at least?
It was pretty funny. It has Edwige Fenech and Barbara Boucher in the same movie. So that's why I watched it. But the comedy bits, they need no language. It transcends language. And then I also watched American Rickshaw the other day.
Ooh.
Have you seen that?
I have. That is that's an absurd movie.
It really is. These viewing selections lately have been messing with my brain. But yeah, I'm just going with Martino.
Martino's a fun pick. He has done a lot of really great movies. He's also done a couple that I've really not been sure why they existed. But it's okay. He did everything that he's done. It's been at least worth watching, I would say.
I love it.
And then my number one is the one that you called basic. Fulci is my god, essentially. Fulci had to be my number one. Lucio Fulci is somebody that I saw Gates of Hell, otherwise known elsewhere as City of the Living Dead. I saw this movie when I was fairly young, and then come to find out, literally, I think it was about 2.5 years ago, my mom messaged me because she found out I was doing all this stuff with films. We had been sort of separated for a handful of years, and then we were getting to know each other again. And she mentioned, "Hey, I know that you're doing all this movie-focused stuff. I saw a movie when I was very young. I was like 12 or 13 years old. Can you help me figure it out?" And she starts describing very obvious scenes from City of the Living Dead. And my mom was raised a little Mormon girl in Utah that would never be allowed to watch any of this stuff. And turns out City of the Living Dead played at some random ass drive-in in the middle of Utah, like 8 months after it was released. And it traumatized her so much that she has been like revisiting these scenes in her head for 40 years. And so earlier this year, my wife went out of town and took my kids with her. And so I said, "Hey, Mom, let's sit down and watch City of the Living Dead together in 4K." And to be able to look over and see her like marveling at something that she hasn't seen in 40 years because she didn't know what it was called, and like rediscover this love of this lost foreign to her movie was just one of the best experiences. And it made me think back to the first time I saw it, and Fulci has just always been one of my favorites. Don't Torture a Duckling is my favorite from him. I think it's his best movie. I got to give a shout out. The Gates of Hell trilogy is classic, of course. But he's done so much that is just iconic. It's great. He could make things out of literally nothing. He'd have no budget to finish filming, and he'd be like, "I don't care. I'm going to go give you the goriest scene of the movie in 12 minutes. Watch." And it's amazing. I mean, so much of what he did was traumatizing for an entire generation. And I think he, honestly, at the heart of his skill, I think he's even better than Argento. So Fulci is my man.
Well, I put him above Argento too. That's funny.
Yeah, that's true.
I love that story about your mom. That's crazy.
Yeah, I still can't believe we both saw that. That was our both first Fulcis, and she'd forgotten about it for 40 years.
It's like a legacy.
It is, literally.
It's like in your destiny. It's in your blood.
It was fated to watch City of the Living Dead first. So a lot of my picks I've discovered because of physical media. Everybody that watches my channel, I talk about this stuff constantly. It's something I love. You talk about it quite a bit recently because it's something that a lot of these movies are literally disappearing. I have people that come over and marvel at my room and just go, "Why do you have all these? We can stream things." And I have to explain, I think you can only stream about 30% of what's in my room here. Mm-hmm. And people don't believe that. So why, for you, who's somebody just primarily discovering this passion for film in the last 4 or 5 years, why is physical media important to you?
It might be part of my age a little bit. Like, I'm still in this mindset that if you love something, you go buy it.
Yeah.
Like, if I love a band, I'm going to go buy their album. If I love a movie, I'm not going to keep streaming it. I'm going to buy it so that I have it. I think it's about having. I want to have it. I don't want to keep borrowing it with the subscription fee and it may disappear.
Right.
And I don't really pay for a lot of subscriptions. I don't really like that.
Me neither.
I don't know. It just doesn't sit right with me. So I would rather just have it. And for not to depend on an internet connection or anything like that.
I don't love that it seems like everything is turning to a subscription lately. It's such an annoying practice. I don't want to keep paying for something if I can pay for it once.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, I'm still in this mindset of, if I like something, I'm going to pay for it one time. So, it is nice to just have it, like, laid out and you can see it on your shelf.
I think I feel that way primarily because of being kind of from the music industry. I helped a lot of bands and all of that stuff. And I've seen bands literally have to break up because they weren't supported. It was in the whole post Napster era where everybody started downloading everything illegally, and just people not purchasing their albums would say, well, we literally can't afford to drive to the next city now. And so I've had that like beaten into me over the years that, yeah, if you love something, why would I not give them $15 for it?
Right. That's how you support it. I feel like that's my mindset as well. It just makes sense. It
does. And I mean, like you said, it looks nice on the shelf. I can't argue with that. It's something that I also, you mentioned the video store earlier. I love being able to walk in here and literally just browse. And even though I know what all of these cases say, I'll pull one out and read the back just to be like, man,
yeah,
this is awesome.
I just admire my own collection all the time. I just walk by and I'm like, I love these.
For those that haven't watched your channel yet, what's in your collection? What do you focus on purchasing? What are you out seeking for?
Well, it's funny. A lot of what I have has been sent to me. A lot of my audience will send me things. So it's not completely curated by me. I think that's the really interesting thing. Because at first when I was starting out, I was like, I'm only going to buy my favorites. And then I just got like piles and piles of things to try, or things that I kind of like, but they're not favorites, but I have them and now I don't want to just get rid of them because you never know what's going to happen out there in the streaming world, right? So I have like an Italian shelf, and I have like a kind of like a mainstream horror shelf, and then I have like stuff I need to watch, which is a lot of like exploitation and just like other genre films. And then I have a few of like comedies, and I didn't even mention comedies, but I have a few like comedy and like anime things down at the bottom.
Nice. Where when you do go by, where are you mostly purchasing from?
Secondhand usually, or I've been like very, very thrifty.
Good. Most
of my life, but I've bought things from Vinegar Syndrome. I just bought some things from Severin, Arrow. One does Forgotten Jolly, and then one does a different set.
Vinegar Syndrome is the Forgotten Jolly, and then Arrow is doing their big color box sets. They're called Giallo Essentials.
Giallo Essentials. Okay, I've bought. I promise I know English. I've bought both of those.
I love how that comes after you said you had an English major.
I'm a low effort English speaker. Yeah, I really am not a high buy person right now. So it's all kind of just come to me through thrifted or gifted ways, and then I do shop sales.
I mean, that's a good title for a series. I don't think I've heard you say that on your channel yet. Thrifted and gifted. Just go from there.
Yeah. So
well, that's good. I mean, that's it's a good thing for people to keep an eye on. One of the biggest things I always tell people to harp on, especially for physical media, is your local library. I mean, the amount of titles that you can get literally for free, because pretty much all libraries nowadays have a big DVD collection. Just go and support them. And even just going in and borrowing them, that alone makes them feel like they need, well, actually borrowing supposedly gets them more funding because it shows more activity for them. So yeah, absolutely go support them. All right. Anything that I didn't share or ask about that you wish people watching this would know about your channel and come check you out?
No, I think I've said it all.
All right. Well, for anybody watching this, if you're interested, we're doing a bit of a companion piece over on Katie's channel. I'm going to be over there talking. We're going to be talking about specifically now our 5 favorite gialli. So go check out that video. All of Katie's links will be in the description below. All the channel, letterboxd, everything. Go give everything a subscribe and follow. And thanks for doing this. I know you don't do it that often, so thanks for watching a couple of my videos and then saying yes, because I know it's kind of weird to have some random dude just say, hey, do you want to come on my show?
Oh, no, it was a great talk, and I had a lot of fun, so thank you.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Thank you for listening to the Disconnected Podcast. There's one big thing that you could do to help the show, and that is to leave a rating and review on the podcast service of your choice. Thank you.
Hello! This is Matt.
And Emily from Scarecrow Video in Seattle, Washington. Did you know that we have the largest video collection in the world? We have over 146,000 titles and growing. That's over 3 times more than Netflix, Amazon, Max, and Hulu combined.
Plus, Scarecrow now offers rent-by-mail service throughout the U.S., so check out scarecrowvideo.org for details. You can catch Emily and I, or Matt and I, if that was going to be you saying that, on our bi-weekly YouTube show, Viva Physical Media, for video recommendations and so much more.
See ya!
Bye!